fact, I think a lot of us are going to have a nice breath of fresh air and cooler air after some of these storms move through this week, but we've got to get through the storminess first. Got two different areas of storminess that we're watching. You can see this here, a little system that's moving out of Michigan. This is going to continue pulling off to the northeast, and then we're watching some of these storms that have reached severe limits as they're blasting through southern Minnesota. You can see just to the west of Minneapolis, we've been watching this severe thunderstorm. This has had a history of producing pretty large hail. Right now, we've got that considerable threat tag on it because we have winds up to 70 miles per hour and tennis ball size hail possible with the severe warning. So Bird Island, Hector, Olivia until 8:30. This is moving to the south and east at about 35 miles an hour. Lots of lightning, heavy rain with that storm as well. So if you're in that area, just wait for that one to pass. You don't want to be out and about in winds like that or hail that is that large. We've got some storms that are moving through just north of Detroit. You're in a little bit of a break there in Detroit right now, but we're getting some heavy rain from Saginaw down through Flint as well. That risk for severe storms highlighted across the Great Lakes region, places like Davenport, Chicago, Peoria included in that. That's going to come later on this evening as well. Watch as this energy builds. We've got the daytime heating, early afternoon with that front swinging through. Now, the low-level winds are more of a southwesterly direction. That helps support some of those isolated tornadoes because as we go up through the atmosphere, we get more of a northwesterly mid-level wind that supports the rotating storms and the damaging wind threat. We're already seeing some of that damaging wind threat realized today with some of these storms that have blasted through. 75 mile per hour or greater winds, that is going to do some damage. That's going to knock over those high-profile vehicles. That's going to bring down weak trees. Isolated tornado threat as well. You can see our torcons of 2 to 3. Davenport, you've got that torcon of 3 today. What does that mean for you? Isolated tornado is possible. Tornado watches are likely to be issued. Quick look at the future radar here. You can see that complex of storms blasting over the Mississippi heading into that 6 o'clock hour. Davenport, you're getting into that 9 o'clock. Chicago blasting through for you. And then watch as this takes on this kind of backward C shape down through Peoria, Fort Wayne, Indianapolis. It's overnight tonight, Alex, that we'll start to see this merge into even more of a damaging wind threat. So we want to make sure people are prepared for that and have some way to get those alerts.
Absolutely. Didn't know that even existed.
No, everyone knows that.
Sorry. Well, you know I'm not a watermelon person.
I didn't know you're not a.
Well, now
I knew you're not a peanut butter person.
That too.
Listen, you're going to know what foods each of us like, all of them, by the end of the show is done.
Yes. Thanks for the comments. Keep them coming. Head to Threads. We'll highlight a few more as we head on through this show. Well, divers and snorkelers
of us have been dealing with. I am firm on the point that the dew point makes more difference than even the temperature, because when you've got that dew point up around 78 degrees, there's just no way for your body to efficiently cool itself. Now, speaking of moisture with dew point, we also need some moisture in the ground. We're starting to see a bit of kind of a flash drought that's been showing up here across portions of the Carolinas. We're seeing extreme drought there. So with abnormally dry conditions like we're seeing across the southeast up through the mid-Atlantic, lots of people waiting for some rain, not only to cool us off, but to kind of quench that parched ground. And we're going to get it. It's not very often where we see the heaviest rain kind of lining up over where we really need it, but we're going to get some of that for the coastal Carolinas, 3 to 5 inches, hoping that's not going to bring us flooding issues. Sometimes when you have really dry ground, getting that much water pretty quickly can cause you even more issues. But, you know, when you're talking about this type of heat, the grass is turning brown. You do want some of that rain and not storm action, but you'll take it if it means you get some rain. Look at the forecast for Atlanta. We've got afternoon storms today, Tuesday, a bit of a break, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're seeing those storms hang around. We'll be stuck in a bit of a stormy pattern. It's kind of like your typical summertime pattern. You get that daytime heating to go, especially when it's this hot and humid. It's like someone flips the switch and all of a sudden you've got the storms bubbling up across the region. It's kind of diurnally driven. You start to see those die down as the sun goes down and then pop back up for your next afternoon, almost like clockwork, right? You're like, is it 2 p.m.? Yes, it is. Here comes my storm that I'm expecting. We're going to see that rain and shower chance sticking around as we head into Wednesday, Thursday. It's not going to be one of those washouts constantly, but there will certainly be rain and storms around into your weekend, so you'll want to plan your weekend accordingly. We do have that possibility for a bit of flash flooding as we head into the second part of the week, Alex, where we're going to see some of those higher totals for the coastal Carolinas, but that risk does stretch all the way back into places like Dallas. Yeah, Alex, some people might see that forecast and be like, I'm traveling there. I'm buying a plane ticket up to the Great Lakes at this point. Weather Channel is your travel HQ, so let's take a look at that forecast for the skyways and the highways. We've got those airport impacts expected today, where we've got weather moving through the interior interior areas of the Northeast, maybe a few there in Boston later on today, maybe some impacts around D.C. as well. We've got heat, we've got storms. All of that is going to come into play when you're talking about traveling. That possibility for some stronger storms for cities like Buffalo, Syracuse, down through Binghamton, damaging wind gusts, and then some heavy downpours. We've got lots of moisture to work with. So if you're on any of those roadways, windshield wipers might be working overtime. You might want to plan whatever activities you have around that possibility for storms. Also, that possibility for some delays for airports like MSP down through DSM, and then those later storms out of ORD. I know it's got a green bubble on it, but when you have those storms that are going to be blasting through 7, 8 o'clock around the Chicago area, if you have one of those later flights, that could certainly be impacted. That possibility for some severe storms into the nighttime hours. We'll watch as storms kind of roll down from the northwest to the southeast. We've got the possibility for damaging winds, hail, and isolated tornadoes. So all of that is in play. Watch how this takes shape. You can see the models wanting to predict a really possibly damaging complex of storms taking shape right around 6 o'clock to the north and west of Davenport, Iowa. That's going to roll across the Mississippi with that possibility for an isolated tornado, damaging winds, large hail. Knocking on the door there in Chicago, Milwaukee around 8 and 9 o'clock as that all blasts southward. Peoria, you're getting into that around the 9 o'clock hour. Heading into Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, Detroit as we head into the overnight hours as well. And again, I think into the overnight and early Tuesday, this is when we're going to see this evolve into maybe more of a damaging wind threat. That possibility for winds 75 miles per hour or greater, that is going to possibly blow over those high-profile vehicles. That could bring down some tree limbs or even some weaker trees as well, so do keep that in mind. Chicago, Peoria, you're all in for that. We've already seen some large hail out of these storms, Alex, so I think it's going to be a busy evening and night for this region.
Well, you know, you